There are very few things that I enjoy quite as much as watching karma in action. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is inconsequential, but it brings me way more joy than it should. Do you remember how before he became a twice impeached traitor to our country, Trump was just a petulant child who was pissed that he never won an Emmy?
He didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset. This is how Donald thinks. And it's funny, but it's also really troubling.
Well, guess who did win an Emmy this week?
Former President Barack Obama is halfway to an EGOT. He has 2 Grammys, and last night he won an Emmy.
You see, unlike a presidential election, an Emmy goes to the winner of the popular vote. The closest Trump will ever get to an EGOT is his ego, which I love seeing bruised.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us here with Get Into It with Taz and Ginger's back. Chris.
Your resident Ginger. Hello, everybody.
We missed you last week.
I know. But I'm back. I can't be off for too long.
Yeah, we'll come and kidnap you and bring you back.
Not to the Commonwealth. Nope.
Let's get this started with an article coming from 2fab.com. Jennifer Lawrence reveals family rift over their conservative views on Roe v. Wade voting Trump. Jennifer Lawrence grew up in Red State, Kentucky before breaking into Ohio, and her family's ongoing support of conservative ideals is something that has caused a bit of rift between them. The actress was interviewed by Vogue just days after the Supreme Court decided to overturn Roe v. Wade, and it's clear the decision still weighed heavily on her mind. The publication noted that the 2016 election had torn open a rift in her family, one she had been trying to heal. After welcoming a baby boy earlier this year, Roe v. Wade's reversal was reigniting their drama, wrote Vogue. I just, worked so hard in the last 5 years to forgive my dad and my family and try to understand. It's difficult. The information they are getting is different. Their life is different, she told the magazine. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to call bullshit. I live in the same Commonwealth of Kentucky. If our information was different, if we were being told things that are different, why are my eyes not completely shut? According to her excuse for her family, I should be a raging Trumplican.
Mm-hmm. So she just basically just sat there and went along with it for a long time, and then a light switch came on. I mean, what?
And this is what gets me, because I see a lot of people in states with a lot of rural areas. They try to excuse either their mentality or the mentality of their families that they refuse to go no contact with. They refuse to correct all this stuff. And she's like, oh, I just forgave him. She never said she corrected him, just forgave him. Mm-hmm. They try to act like, oh, they don't have the information. Yes, they do. They choose to live in an echo chamber. They choose to say that people are lying to them because guess what? No one's correcting them. If I were to say the sky is purple and none of my friends and family correct me.
Mhm.
I'm going to fight to the teeth, to the death with somebody else in public, because I would have gone my whole life,
Mhm.
even currently, believing the sky is purple.
Right. So basically, she just was like, yeah, I just decided we're going to agree to disagree, which is always like, okay, then it's kind of given that consent of, okay, I'm not going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm just going to allow you to keep talking your mess.
Hmm.
So where do you involve yourself? And you may have some really good points. You may have some really good factual information, but you choose, you know what, these people aren't going to listen to the facts. So I'm just going to go ahead and forgive them for thinking a certain way. It's like, no, if you're adamant about, look, I have the facts, you don't, there's no allowing, agreeing. I mean, this is what we see is prolonging a good portion of this country is people that are enabled in a certain mindset, and that mindset isn't factual. It's working on the danger side of what the society doesn't need.
And the sad part about it is when people like this, celebrities, major internet influencers, say things like that, it gives a pass because that'll become a new excuse. Oh, our information is different. Jennifer, stop. Because if you've been having this rift with your family since before the election, you are from that same city in Kentucky that they're from. How are your views different? And see, we know critical thinking is lacking in this country in abundance. People generally aren't going to pull these things and pull them apart and piecemeal them and then put them back together and really examine them.
Right.
Because she's saying, oh, their information is different. But you say you never aligned with them. You're from the same place. You were getting the same information. And last time I checked, we all have the same internet, same Google, same Yahoo, same Bing, same Firefox.
Mhm. Right.
But her
I
interview
mean,
is right
I
on
just don't think
par.
it had to come to a whole forgiveness thing. I don't think forgiveness needed to be a part of what they're doing and what differences you have. I don't know why forgiveness had to be something that, you know, it just didn't make sense. Like, why would you? Why would you even say that? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Kind of reminds me of how Tom Brady used to golf with 45, and then once he saw his teammates kneeling, he decided, I better not say anything more.
Exactly. And now the GOP is switching up their strategy because they're realizing their talking points that they turned into reality that were supposed to just be talking points, and some of their affiliations, their voter base, their constituents aren't really feeling that. And you know how they're always going after the suburban housewife or the suburban woman, code name for middle class white
Codename
women.
Soccer Mom and Karen's.
Yeah, they're realizing they're losing them. So we got a video, and then after that, we have a article that we
About
seem to have
Ginger's.
another lone wolf as far as a woman in the GOP. Let's take a look.
Y'all know about the big scrub? Let's talk about the big scrub. In case you're not aware, Republican candidates across the board have been trying to walk back some of their crazier rhetoric when they found out it wasn't a winning strategy. Candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Michigan, Shane Hernandez, deletes picture of him with the 3%ers. Blake Masters is no longer publicly endorsing the big lie. He's also removed all mention of being 100% pro-life in all cases from his website. Mastriano went on a deleting spree that included a video of him calling climate change pop science, and his magical mystery tour of all of Christian nationalist Pennsylvania, to include his own church. Christine Drazen, governor candidate for Oregon, removed a lot of the Handmaid's Tale stuff, but has assured everyone that she's still staying the course. Because dishonesty is totally what people want right now. Scott Jensen, Minnesota candidate for governor. He's watered down his stance on reproductive rights so much you'd swear he was neutral on the subject. Spoiler alert, he's not. Did no one ever tell these people that the internet's forever?
And coming
Well,
from
well, well.
Yeah, and coming from CNN, GOP Senate nominee in Blue Washington says she supports state law guaranteeing abortion up to fetal viability. The GOP for U.S. Senate in Washington said Sunday that she supports a law in her state guaranteeing the right to an abortion up to fetal viability, a rare Republican to take a stance supportive of abortion rights as her party navigates the delicate issue ahead of the November midterms. I do, Tiffany Smiley told CNN's Dana Bash on State of the Union when asked whether she supports a measure passed by her state in 1991 that declared a woman's right to receive an abortion before the fetus is deemed viable. I respect the voters of Washington state. They long decided where they stand on the issue. I keep telling y'all, Roe v. Wade was never meant to actually be overturned. Roe v. Wade was supposed to be that bargaining chip, that
Correct.
ultimate talking point for conservatives and for Christian nationalists. Christian nationalist laws were never to infiltrate legislation. They were never to be the law of the land. It was just a good PR trick to get votes. The vast majority of this country for far too long has not wanted all of these laws.
Right.
Oh, and side note, in the next couple of days, it's looking like marriage, the loving will be codified. So SCOTUS won't be able to touch that. But you do need to pay attention to SCOTUS regarding the police brutality case that is currently being heard. Because they may just make it legal for the police to beat us all and kill us all and get away with it scot-free.
They do a lot of that. Yeah, they have been. But yeah, it's interesting how these candidates out there really feel like pulling information from certain sites is in some way gonna make certain voters feel they're doing an about face. That's not something that is done overnight. I mean, it's clear why they're doing certain things, and it should be. So anybody that's getting ready to head into the voting booths, or when they do, these tactics, you know good and well where they stand. I mean, they may, you can remove what you want, but it's already been out there. So it's kind of like you don't want to dig your grave any deeper, but it's already being dug. So, you know, you don't want it to be 8 feet deep. You want it to be 6 feet deep. So, yeah, it's ridiculous hearing all these that they're pulling stuff off of websites and things like that. It's such a ridiculous game. I mean, they were all for it until they saw what the public thought, and then it's like, uh-oh, and then they were going after the contraceptive, they were going after pills and anything else, and it's like, wow, that's extremely unpopular. Okay, go ahead and keep burying yourself. We're all for that, because last thing we need is a country of Trump puppets. So,
and one quick update, because we do have some sports news to update you guys on. It has been confirmed. Teacher Eliza Fletcher confirmed dead after being kidnapped during jog in Memphis. Memphis authorities confirmed that the body discovered September 5th belongs to that of teacher Eliza Fletcher, who was abducted while on a run last week. I cannot stress this enough. Ladies, please be careful. Please be mindful. I do not care how safe you believe your neighborhood is. Neighborhoods do not have some invisible force field around it to keep people out. And the biggest creeps live in what's deemed the best neighborhoods. Ted Bundy was not from the hood, the ghetto. Yeah. He was not from a lower income. John Wayne Gacy, not from a bad neighborhood. Like,
people do travel to good neighborhoods to do these things. And you should just know that certain times of the day, target areas, you're by yourself. Now, not to say there aren't females out there that have skills or self-defense or whatever else. But do you really want to put yourself in that situation where you're still going to seem like prey? And
that's why I say keep in mind, always have your keys in your hand. If you're driving, like my car, you can program a code onto the door to put it in there. If you live in an apartment complex, call a friend who does not live in an apartment complex, or put a sheet over your head when you program it, because you don't know who can be looking out of the window at you. You may go, Taz, you're being paranoid. No, I'm being dead serious, because I'm old enough to remember when men were breaking into cars dressed as women and sitting in the passenger seat or back seat of cars of women doing Christmas shopping and pretending to be a little old lady and offing them, where women have come out to get in their cars and somebody is in the car behind the car. Reprogram your key fobs so that when you click unlock, all four of your doors do not unlock simultaneously. Always have it where just your driver's side opens. Whoever else needs to get in the car with you, you can unlock it for them once you're in the car. Soon as you get into a car, immediately lock your doors before you put a seatbelt on, anything else. Because trust me, before I put my seatbelt on, doors are locked, engine is running. I'm putting the seatbelt on and I will hit you with my car. I will hit you.
And heads up, being a jogger or going out somewhere by yourself with, and I think we probably said this before, keychain mace is not going to impact someone who's right up on you. It's just not. I mean, it sounds cute, sounds nice. Maybe it's more of a sense of I have something with me. But in a situation, it's going to be close to impossible to pull out a little tube and aim it just right and hit your target where it's going to,
That's why I tell people get a taser, and then there are keychains that you can put on you. Use that as a weapon, but keep it in your hands. And when you're running, pull your hair back. Pull your hair back into the tightest bun that you can. Do not run in hoodies. If you need to put on a sweatshirt, make sure it does not have a hoodie. Do not run with headphones on, AirPods in, none of that. Ladies, stop buying noise canceling anything, especially out in public. Stop running alone in the woods, in the park. Run the main street where you live.
Well, it's just like those that work in buildings.
Yeah, and run against traffic. Do not run with traffic, because drivers will miss you when you're going in the same direction. When you're coming in the same direction, they're going to have a lot of optical illusions as they're going past you, which is going to make them notice you. Find a super bright color that's going to be noticeable. Get comfortable. People already stare at you. Make sure it's noticeable. And should someone grab you, do not scream help. And before y'all go, Taz, what do you mean? No, scream bomb, fire, or let go of that child. That's what people will pay attention to. Recently, there was a woman who was screaming help and no one moved. No one moved.
Well, you run the risk where
bomb, fire, or let go of that child, and people will turn around.
Well, you do run the risk where you say help, and depending on how you say it, if somebody hears it, it could mean, they may think, you locked your keys in your car or something. And, people don't really want to participate in things like that. So you do possibly send that wrong cry for help with people that just really don't want to get involved with someone who's, done something basic. But the other thing I would say is people that work late at night, whether it's in an office building, whether it's in a mall, whether anywhere where you got to walk to a parking lot to find your car, let somebody know. Have somebody team with you. Get on the phone. Let somebody, hey, I'm leaving work now. I'm heading to my car. Let somebody know when you're en route. Or walk with somebody, or have security if they have security.
Yeah, put the person on speaker and walk to your car. Do not park in the same parking space. Get yourself a little board and have different routes written on that. Before you leave the house, flip a coin onto that board. And then you'll take that route. Because some people are like, oh, I take this route on Monday. Yeah, you're still creating a routine.
Yeah.
Do not create a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes go ahead and stop and pick up coffee instead of making it.
Right.
And when I say that, you're going to be on surveillance camera.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have interaction with someone.
Yeah. Don't park in the darkest area of the parking lot.
And also,
if you work late, park near a light.
Yes.
Don't park in the dark corner of the parking lot, knowing you come out at night.
And should you get grabbed, don't start flailing. Drop to the ground.
Be dead weight.
Lower your center of gravity, which is going to cause it harder for you to be maneuvered. Think about wrestling a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing else, don't flail, because that's going to make you lighter. Tighten up and become a rock. Mm-hmm. If you're facing them, go here, right in the corners. If you can't do that, hit that cartilage up into the nose. If you're facing them, go for the groin. Go for the gut.
Right.
Hell, pull a Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Bite them if you have to.
Right.
Let's move on from fast break on Fan Nation. NBA champion announces that he is retiring. In an interview with Steve Dunright on Team on Team USA's basketball's website, NBA champion Jody Meeks announced that he is retiring from pro basketball. Meeks played for the Toronto Raptors, Los Angeles Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, Orlando Magic, Washington Wizards, Philadelphia 76ers, and Detroit Pistons for over his 10 seasons in the NBA. Jody Meeks was an absolute star for the Kentucky Wildcats during the 2009 season, his junior year of college. The sharpshooter averaged an incredible 23.7 points on over 40% shooting from the three-point range. The Milwaukee Bucks then selected him with the 41st overall pick in 2009 NBA draft. I think he just tired of moving.
I thought you were going to bring up the retirement of Sue Bird. Like, she's a legend in the WNBA.
Yes, I know, but I don't have an official statement from her yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I know that she had just, I guess, played her last game, and so that's another icon in the women's basketball game that's leaving. But
and here's one that kind of shocks me.
That's from the Commonwealth News.
Yeah, but here's one that kind of shocked me because I kind of forgot that this person had children, and I kind of forgot that his children weren't as eccentric as him. But coming from Vibe magazine, Dennis Rodman's daughter becomes the highest paid player in National Women's Soccer League. Trinity Rodman, the daughter of NBA veteran Dennis Rodman, is a force to reckon with in the soccer world. The 19-year-old recently signed a 4-year contract extension with the Washington Spirits worth $1.1 million, Sportico reports, making her the highest paid player within the National Women's Soccer League. She will make an estimated $281,000 annually. For context, Rodman joined the league in 2021 with a base salary of $42,000 plus housing and bonuses on a 3-year deal and was the youngest player to be drafted. After a breakout season where she started 22 of 25 games, Rodman was awarded Rookie of the Year by NWSL along with the U.S. Soccer's Young Player of the Year. She was also the only member of her team gifted the chance to attend the U.S. Women's National Team training camp and was recently nominated for the 2022 Ballon d'Or, the top-tier distinction for soccer players across the globe.
How about that? Golden. Okay. I've heard about her. I've heard about the contract. Didn't realize the rapid rise by her. I mean, we hear about those on the women's national team and players like that, but we don't always hear about, the under 21s or the 16. I mean, they have different divisions, different levels. So that says a lot because we are tops in the world when it comes to women's soccer.
Yeah.
So
and I'm like,
that says a lot.
That is one way to get a raise. she was like, here, Dad, hold my beer.
Right. And she's playing here. She didn't need to go play in the European League to make more money. I mean, now obviously the level of competition is usually better in Europe, and that gives more experience on that level. But that's pretty remarkable that she can do that here and be an American player. Normally we throw money at European players to come here. So that says a lot. That says a lot about her talent, skills.
Hold on. Oops. Did that go in there? Let's see. And
now a segment on gingers. Oh.
Well, actually, this comes from the world of sometimes it's better just to shut the hell up news. Let me give you this visual.
Oh, that's out of Florida.
So, coming from the insider.com, Serena Williams comes under fire from tennis legend Margaret Court, who said Williams has never admired her. Court, 80, holds the all-time record for Grand Slam single titles with 24, one more than Williams, who on Saturday played what she said will be the last match of her career. Last month, Williams was asked about the potential of matching Court's Grand Slam record before retiring. Williams replied, "I've already broken the record," seeming not to acknowledge Court's larger number of titles. Court won 13 of her 24 titles before the Open era began in 1968. Serena, I've admired her as a player, Court told the Daily Telegraph, but I don't think she's ever admired me. I would love to have played in this era. I think it's so much easier, she added, how I would love to have taken family or friends along with me, but I couldn't. I had to go on my own or with the national team. People don't see all that. We don't have psychologists or coaches with us. It's a whole different world. That's what disappoints me, that players today don't honor the past of the game. The Australian also hit out Williams for not congratulating her opponent, Ajla, I don't want to mess up her last name, after her final match. Sometimes white women, you put your foot too far down your throat. You're criticizing Serena Williams for not kissing your ass.
She's got those Aussie tears.
And you started playing before the Open. So technically, what Serena Williams says is correct. She already broke your record. And who said that they just get to travel with family? And you did travel with coaches. If you didn't, that was because of misogyny and sexism. And you're Australian. And sorry, not sorry, but Australians are notorious for their outward racism, because there's an Australian writer, right? Well, media personality right now under so much fire for claiming that white men are now the minority and have no representation in the media. Just to give y'all a perspective. About she admired Serena. No.
Well, Australia was founded as a penal colony.
Yeah, how quickly people forget their histories. I swear.
Yep,
she didn't be
the British outpost. Yep, a lot of history there in Aussie land. It's not all kangaroos, I'll tell you that.
I wish it was. Oh, and coming from the Falcon Report, the gift that just refuses to stop giving. Can anybody find the receipt on Deshaun Watson? Can we return him?
Here we go. It's on Instagram. The receipt's on IG.
We But new details emerge in Falcons' Matt Ryan trade, Deshaun Watson pursuit. Why do you know what? Let's just go forward. The Ryan Watson saga in Atlanta had more moving parts than initially believed. The Atlanta Falcons entered this offseason free agency period without much money to spend, but still managed to work their way into the spotlight. By now, everybody knows the story. After months of here are their rumors linking them to embattled then Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson, the Falcons jumped in head first, rolling out an elaborate plan to put themselves in prime position to land the three-time Pro Bowler. Except there was a problem. Even with Watson's bevy of off-field problems, the ball was in his court, meaning the final decision went through him, not the Texans. Seemingly on the verge of choosing Atlanta, the Cleveland Browns offered Watson a massive 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract, and he simply couldn't resist. That set off another problem for the Falcons franchise. Quarterback Matt Ryan wasn't going to stay where he didn't feel he was valued. Shortly after the Watson saga, Atlanta traded Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round pick. Then the Falcons signed Marcus Mariota and drafted Desmond Ridder in the third round, giving the team a pair of signal callers to drive the boat in place of Ryan. That's the story. Finished, sealed. Except it isn't. New details have emerged about what went down inside the walls of Falcons headquarters during the team's pursuit of Watson. According to The Athletic, most within the Falcons building assumed Watson was theirs, and in the process of recruiting Watson, Atlanta was quietly shopping Ryan. Despite radio silence on Ryan's behalf, he handled it like a consummate pro, though he knew it was time to move on, regardless of the result of Watson's decision. I'd have burnt the place down. Like, y'all really trying to woo a rapist. Yeah, I'm going to say it, a rapist.
Not only that, but give a horrible deal when it comes to deals. I mean, just to guarantee everything.
Like, y'all were...
Yeah.
I would have burnt it down.
But...
I would have pulled the left eye.
But you see what the Falcons did? They went out, got a Bearcat.
That's their one game to call it. I would have pulled a left eye. I like to teach the world. Yeah, that's what would have happened.
Yeah, the Andre Rison thing. We all know how that went. Yep, that was the Bad Moon Rising.
Oh, and from the previous story, the gentleman from Australia that I was referring to, I have to check my notes real quick, is Stephen Price. And also, before we go to, the Nikes in the bathtub. Before we go to this month's ad, do not forget, as always, check out the links, their blogs, videos, etc. in the description of the comments section. And if you have not read the blog yet, you do need to get into the blog. I do incorporate a lot of links throughout the blog and always at the end of the blog. Make sure you stay informed, and anything that we do not go into further detail about, I try to cover there. And the audio podcast is out, but we'll see you in two.
Go get a tumbler.
Yes.
Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dangerous thing with style is what I call art.
Good morning. I want you to watch this.
Nothing to you! I am the fucking movement! You remove me! What did I do?
That was a member of the Freedom Convoy. Now we can sit here and we can point out the obvious need for mental health, but I'm using that as an example of how Donald Trump and the right have taken grievances that they caused and used them as weapons for people to vote for them, to turn us, the people who have been voting in their favor, to turn us into the enemies. A con man is able to get into somebody's psyche, find their weakness, find their angst, knowing full well they're the ones who caused it, and channel it into others. The first countries Nazis ever invaded was their own, because they created an environment like this. There's more of us than them. Vote them out.
They are turning on themselves and they are literally kicking people out. People are getting kicked out from what I'm gathering on message boards and all over social media and in real life and on various
You don't
apps.
have a voice. They're not letting us have a voice. Your voice is leading to violence.
Yeah, well, they're getting kicked out because they're running out of money. So when you can't keep donating, that's why the fundraising for the GOP is going down so much. That's why now everybody's claiming they're getting swatted. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bill Barr, all these people. If you can't pay your dues, if you don't have enough merch, some of the things are getting so radical that people are starting to wake up like, whoa, you went too far with that one. Like, hold up. That's a little too crazy. Let me go look at the rest of this stuff. But people are giving up everything that they have, jobs, families, you name it. And then they're like, we don't want you in our movement anymore.
Mm-hmm. But Boebert's going to go make some money because she knows how to work the poll.
And not the poll that's in the strip.
Not the polls as in voting either, people. Not the voting.
But in better news, since, if you all didn't hear, Biden corrected a wrong from Trump.
Yes.
And it's the best wrong to correct.
Let us see it.
Coming from CNN.com, Barack and Michelle Obama make first joint return to the White House for unveiling of official portraits. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama's official White House portraits were revealed during an emotional ceremony at the White House on Wednesday, marking their first joint visit to the building since they left in 2017 and the return of a Washington tradition last celebrated 10 years ago. The history-making portraits of the Obamas stand in contrast to those of our U.S. presidents and their spouses hung on the White House walls, depicting the first Black president and First Lady through the perspective of contemporary artists working outside many of the conventions of traditional political portraiture. President Obama's image was painted by Robert McCurdy, and Michelle Obama's portrait was painted by Sharon Sprung. And for a lot of people who keep asking online, like, well, what do you mean 10 years? Y'all have to remember, the Obama administration lasted 2 terms.
Yep.
This tradition should have kicked back up with Trump, but he was being an incessant tangerine tyrant as always. So that's where the 10 years comes from. Like sometimes
Mussolini doesn't hang portraits.
Yeah. But
they hang
love
their own.
the contemporary look. And if you did not see the ceremony,
it was
Obama
awesome.
had a lot of jokes
awesome.
regarding
He said,
this.
Look, she's hot. It's like, what did he say?
Yeah, he was like, of course I got her. She's hot. She's fine.
Yeah.
But he also said about his portrait that McCurdy does everything realistically. And he was like, well, I tried to get him to shrink my ears. He wouldn't do it. I tried to get him to cover my grays. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's when we used to have some casual, comfortable outtakes from the White House compared to Twitter, and I mean just stark opposite. Yeah, to go from cookouts in the backyard to plotting coups. So.
Oh yeah, but we cannot go without digging into the crazy shenanigans that are Trump. So let's start with Trump's latest attorney and her crazed shenanigans. And pay close attention to precisely what she says.
Now hold up 1 minute. Just a second.
It could mean that they gave those documents to NARA and to the FBI prior, as we know, which they had done. It could mean there was nothing in them. It could mean they're invisible.
Somebody check her meds. She thinks they were invisible. Invisible. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
It was a storage thing. It's a storage thing.
But she literally said the files could have been invisible. Is this the Emperor's New Clothes? You know, I keep referring to Trump as his own character in his own gangster movie. But is this really the Emperor's New Clothes?
But should this be total shocking? Because remember, we got a whole lot of Q people that have a whole lot of conspiracy wacko stuff out there. So invisible stuff feeds right into the Q.
It will never cease to amaze me. These people who have spent so much money, so much time, so many years building a career and a reputation, and they are willing to burn it below the ground for the sake of Donald John Trump, a man who can't even spell Esquire. You have so many people who can put Esquire behind their names, ruining it. Like Rudy Giuliani can no longer practice law. Rudy Giuliani has been so disgraced that years ago, excuse me, his family started coming out publicly denouncing him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used to joke with people I went to school with when they used to say some off the wall stuff, and I'll be like, okay, for the rest of the month, don't tell people we went to school together. But they were just like, for the rest of your life, don't tell people we're related.
Right.
And speaking of a Trump crony, coming from the Hill, Barr says DOJ is getting very close to having enough evidence to indict Trump. Former Attorney General William Barr said on Wednesday that he believes the Justice Department is getting very close to having enough evidence to indict former President Trump. He said on Fox News that government investigators need to consider if they will be able to make a technical case against Trump for his handling of sensitive documents the FBI found at his Mar-a-Lago, not home, golf resort last month. I think they are getting very close to that point, frankly, Barr said. He said, the other question to consider is whether to indict a former president, what it would do to the country, and what precedent it will set. Here's a caveat. Merrick Garland has already said that any indictment would occur after the midterm elections, which is fair to keep things bipartisan and make sure there is no influence or influx during voting time. And we know how crazy the ultra MAGA Trumplicans are. We don't want any violence and any increased voter intimidation because we already have suppression and intimidation going on now.
Right. But it's interesting how Bill Barr, you know, the once notoriously horrific AG, is now on a warpath just because it's clear. He's got he's one of many that are kind of like the Michael Cohen fallout, where once you get thrown under the bus a few times, oh, you could care less who's trying to threaten you. You're ready. Yeah.
Once you've been prosecuted and convicted, and it's clear during your trial that you've been hung out to dry, that you are the sacrificial lamb. There's no. See, Trump wants absolute loyalty, but Trump doesn't know how to get loyalty.
Yeah. He doesn't have friends. He has people that try to mutually benefit each other. And that involves going along with whatever comes out of his mouth. And as soon as you stop, or as soon as you get a conscience, you're gone. And you're not just gone. You're not shown the door. Your name is put out there for his MAGA right to have your name out there so they can look up your address, know your family, know where you work. I mean, you're not just let go by Trump. You are literally handed to the wolves. And that's why there's so many cowards that just do not want to handle harassment. So they're willing to do dangerous things like spread lies and everything else. And they sit at home with their family saying, yeah, what an idiot Trump is. But then they get in front of the media and, oh, yeah, of course he's right. Of course we'd support him. That's the dangerous part. It's always going to be that way. The danger is when you get in front of the camera. We don't care what you say at home. You're not doing this in public. I could care less what you say to your son at night about, yes, Trump's really an idiot. No, it's what you say in front of camera. It's what you say to people that are listening, that are dangerous people out there that are waiting for the call to arms and waiting to rally, because that's all they live for is, hey, let's go shoot some guns. That's
and they're following a person that I would say y'all aren't going to believe this, but when it comes to Trump, what's really unbelievable or surprising at this point, coming from thehill.com, Trump tried to pay lawyer with horse. New York Times reporter writes in new book. I got another book.
This is real. This is real, people. This is real, people.
I think we need to,
you can't make it up.
Election cycle, Chris, we need to revisit when I would just read clips from the book. So I have a whole new list of Trump.
That sounds like something out of Mary Trump's site.
But it's oh my goodness. Listen to this, Jim. Former President Trump once tried to pay a lawyer with a horse, New York Times reporter David Enrich revealed in his book, according to The Guardian. Trump offered the lawyer, whom he owed $2 million, the deed to a stallion. Enrich reported in Servants of the Damned, Giant Law Firms, Donald Trump, and the Corruption of Justice, out next week. The unidentified lawyer from a law firm that worked for Trump in the 1990s visited the former president at Trump Tower after he refused to pay, according to The Guardian. Trump made some apologetic noises. Then he said, "I'm not going to pay your bill. I'm going to give you something more valuable," Enrich wrote, per The Guardian. The former president then rummaged around in a filing cabinet and pulled out a deed to a horse supposedly worth $5 million. Once he regained capacity for speech, the lawyer reportedly said, "This isn't the 1800s. You can't pay me with a horse," Enrich wrote, according to The Guardian. After the lawyer threatened to sue, Trump eventually paid at least a portion of what he owed, Enrich wrote, according to The Guardian. Trump has racked up extensive legal fees in the last few years in the face of personal litigation and government investigations, according to ABC News. The Republican National Committee, RNC, which has paid nearly $2 million in law firms representing the former president since October 2021, recently threatened to stop paying. They did stop paying Trump's legal fees if he announces another run for president. An RNC spokesperson recently told the network. Yeah, they did cut those payments because what's going on with Mar-a-Lago is looking too crazy. But he's flat out said, "I'm not going to pay you. I'm going to give you this deed to the..."
He doesn't pay anyone. We know he doesn't pay anyone. We know that.
I do not ever recall a Trump family horse in any of the Derby events. None of the Triple Crown. And I'm literally a stone's throw from one of the locations of the Triple Crown. Like, we know the horses that come through here. We know the horses that compete regularly.
And it wasn't a Trump?
No drum horse.
It was probably somebody else's horse anyways.
Probably. And he's
just giving away somebody else's property.
You know, this is how I picture it. You know, like the old, private eye movies in that scene, and there's a narrator and the lights are dimmed and there's a light flickering outside, and he goes over and, "My girl Friday will be in a minute. Wait a second. I have something more, dun dun dun, valuable." And we know that nothing that is prayed through Trump is worth what it's supposed to be. Trump is the same person who created a fake person and didn't even cover up his voice to call Forbes to get himself on the Forbes top 100 list.
Yeah. I mean, wow.
But y'all remember,
I mean,
Trump's thesis now is stop the steal.
I mean, you're literally going to set up for a lifetime college courses on this era and Trump. I mean, there's just so much, a wealth of stuff going on that you can teach courses on this.
Brittany said, picture it, Sicily 19. That's pretty much how it went. Trump was sitting there like, look, I got an offer you can't refuse. Picture it, Sicily 1912. I got this thoroughbred. It's worth 5 million smackaroonies. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, because I'm not paying you unless it's in olive oil. You're not paying.
I'll kindly pay you Tuesday for a cheeseburger today.
Let's see, a broke Godfather. That's new. A broke. I mean, his. I'll pay you with these. I'll pay you with these empty top secret folders. These empty folders. I've already taken the material out, so you got top secret folders.
Yeah. He's like, attention, sir. Give more, please. May I have more attention, sir?
More porridge, please.
But his whole stop the steal, the crazy liberals, the Democrats stop the steal. Oh, y'all get comfortable for this one because y'all gonna love this.
Hey, good morning. Do you remember how the 45th president would say, the election is rigged and the fake voters are voting fakely? Do you remember how he would say that? Well, did you know he was the one doing the rigging? True story. I'm gonna let my girl explain.
My name is Casey Lucier. I'm an investigative counsel for the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. On November 18th, a lawyer working with the Trump campaign named Kenneth Cheesebro wrote a memo arguing that the Trump campaign should organize its own electors in the swing states that President Trump had lost. The Select Committee received testimony that those close to President Trump began planning to organize fake electors for Trump in states that Biden won in the weeks after the election. The committee learned the White House counsel's office also felt the plan was potentially illegal. Documents obtained by the Select Committee indicate that instructions were given to the electors in several states that they needed to cast their ballots in complete secrecy. Because this scheme involved fake electors, those participating in certain states had no way to comply with state election laws, like where the electors were supposed to meet. One group of fake electors even considered hiding overnight to ensure that they could access the state capitol, as required in Michigan. In one state, the fake electors even asked for a promise that the campaign would pay their legal fees if they got sued or charged with a crime. Ultimately, fake electors did meet on December 14th, 2020, in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Nevada, and Wisconsin. At the request of the Trump campaign, the electors from these battleground states signed documents falsely asserting that they were the, quote, duly elected electors from their state, and submitted them to the National Archives and to Vice President Pence in his capacity as President of the Senate. Here is what some of the fake elector certificates look like as compared to the real ones. But these ballots had no legal effect. In an email produced to the Select Committee, Dr. Eastman told a Trump campaign representative that it did not matter that the electors had not been approved by a state authority. Quote, the fact that we have multiple slates of electors demonstrates the uncertainty of either. That should be enough. He urged that Pence act boldly and be challenged. Documents produced to the Select Committee show that the Trump campaign took steps to ensure that the physical copies of the fake electors' electoral votes from 2 states were delivered to Washington for January 6th. Text messages exchanged between Republican Party officials in Wisconsin show that on January 4th, the Trump campaign asked for someone to fly their fake electors' documents to Washington. A staffer for Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson texted a staffer for Vice President Pence just minutes before the beginning of the joint session. This staffer stated that Senator Johnson wished to hand-deliver to the vice president the fake electors' votes from Michigan and Wisconsin. The vice president's aide unambiguously instructed them not to deliver the fake votes to the vice president. Even though the fake elector slates were transmitted to Congress, the vice president held firm in his position that his role was to count lawfully submitted electoral votes.
Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
Which is what he did when the joint session resumed on January 6th after the attack on the Capitol.
Exactly.
So I guess we did stop the steal. We got Trump out of office.
But there's the other one that's brewing down in the same state called RondaCon. So you go from Don to Ron, and here we go, 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where I'm guessing Fox is going to head. Fox Entertainment is going to head in that direction.
Well, they just had everything from everyone at Fox News.
If they're willing to have Bill Barr come on there and totally shoot down the whole, hey, he shouldn't have had documents in his home. If they're willing to do that.
Everything has to be turned over because let's not forget, Dominion, the voting machine company, has sued them. So they have to give up everything.
Yeah.
Notes, text messages, emails, you name it. So Fox News is in a lot of trouble. And also, there were a couple of voting machines that ended up on Amazon by a third party.
Yeah.
But your final thoughts on the night?
I think it's been an awesome night. Oh, not that thought. Yeah, well, like I was telling you before we launched everything, we're in September, and this should be the month where we're getting back to popcorn sessions by the Jan 6 committee. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll see, because I think things are trending in the right direction for at least the midterms. I'm not saying we're correcting all of our wrongs in this country, but these midterms and all these elections, they are very, very, very important. People can't take it lightly and think, oh, okay, well, it looks like we're going to do well, and then not show up to the vote. You still got to show up, people. No matter what, got to show up. Do your duty. There's a lot of people out there that wish they could vote, so we're counting on those that can vote to get out there and do their duty, because we still can't assume that everything looks good. But everything only looks good and is good if we get out there and vote. So remember, people. Yep.
Vote like you're a boomer. Boomers do not miss an election. It could be a school board election, a special session election, a midterm. They vote, and they vote from the township level all the way up to the federal level. Because here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot wait until somebody gets to the federal level or the gubernatorial level in order to go, oh, we need to stop them. No, you got to cut them off at the source. It's just like a child. If you do not give that child direction and rules in the beginning, you can't hone them in at 17.
Well, like we're saying before, when you're talking about the elections that are the ones going to Washington, you do have to look at local, because that's what they're doing. Their blueprint is school boards, voting districts. They're taking it on that local level, because they're going to try to say, well, if we can't win it in Washington, we're going to win it on the state level. And that is dangerous, just as dangerous as in Washington. I mean, these are affecting, if laws get thrown back to the states to decide, you're going to have a whole lot of Gileads out there that you're going to be dealing with. And you might have to consider a relocation plan for some of y'all. But yeah, it's bad out there, people.
Was always a fantastic show with our resident favorite Ginger.
Yes.
Be sure to always check the links and everything that I put in the description of the videos, and make sure you join me tomorrow. We're going to get into the pick-me culture of women and some misconceptions about men and women wanting to take things back to the 1950s and just how problematic that is. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And y'all know I'm not going to let y'all go without another entertaining video. Here we go.
My body went through hell.
Ooh, the training. It's been a lot. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this process.
3 hours of martial arts a day.
We had weapons training.
An hour and a half of weights, sprinting. I mean, I feel like a badass.
Rated PG-13.